Shalom, Eliyokim Cohen, Jews News Briefs, June 19th, 2011, the 17th day of Sivan on the Hebrew calendar. We're back after our weekly Shabbat break. Hope everybody had an amazing Shabbat. Live from Jews News World Headquarters. Here's our theme song from David Dome. Man, I love that theme song. All right, before we do anything, I want to announce, unfortunately, that my great aunt passed away yesterday on Shabbat. A lot of people out there have been saying Tehillim for her. My great aunt, I absolutely admired so much. She was a complete throwback to a generation that I took so much pride in learning about. My great aunt, Aunt Florence, we used to call her Aunt Flo, was an absolutely no-nonsense woman. A lot of the things that are happening in modern times absolutely made her want to use her own puke bag. So in her honor, I'm starting a new segment on the show. My great aunt had a great personality, so she's going to love the title, and we'll get to that later in the show. So may Hashem grant her neshama and aliyah, and may He comfort all the mourners in this time of need. All right, our sponsor today is a cool website called awesometorah.blogspot.com. And the gist of this website is that it's awesome Torah. So everybody check that out. They also have a Facebook page too. All right, so today in Jewish history, I thought this was absolutely amazing. This shows the level of care that a lot of our Jewish people had. And yesteryear, some have it today, there was a rabbi named Rabbi Meir. He was persecuted, he was thrown in prison in Germany. Another Rav, named the Rosh, very famous Rav, raised what is in modern times the equivalent of $15 million to ransom him out. But Rabbi Meir said absolutely not, because this would encourage the imprisonment of other rabbis, just to get ransom money. So he did not want to be the one that would start this trend, and he suffered and died in prison. This ties into the Torah tidbit of the day, is that the Torah starts and ends with an act of kindness from God. What's the one at the beginning? He sewed clothes for Adam and Eve, for Adam and Chava in the Garden of Eden after they sinned. And it ends with his personal burial of Moshe. So in this world, in this selfish world that we've succumbed to, do something nice for someone. Even just saying thank you, holding the door open for someone, something shows the godliness that's in this world. And that is exhibited extremely well by Rabbi Meir in this. I was so impressed with this. That's why that is the Today in Jewish History. So the Jewish quote of the day is a great one. It's from Cecil Roth. The preservation of the Jew was certainly not casual. He has endured through the power of a certain ideal based on the recognition of a higher power in human affairs. Time after time in his history, he has been saved from disaster in a manner which can not be described excepting as providential. Meaning, we're only here because of God. We've outlasted every empire that's tried to destroy us. It's time the Jews, wake up and just start doing something Jewish during the day. Learn a little Torah. Learn a little history about Israel. Something that connects you to your people. Because for many people in this world, 60% of the world is intermarrying. This can't happen to our people. It's time we get more connected to our roots. All right, let's dive into our top story today. And this top story is absolutely revolting, which is why I'm leading into it, because this is important. We all know that Ehud Barak is the defense minister. He's proof positive that Hashem pays the wicked person in this world so he can destroy him in the next. Ehud Barak has put his life on the line for the Jewish people. He was in an amazing raid that saved the lives of the Jewish people, but that doesn't exempt him from doing, the nonsense that he's done the last, X amount of years. So, Defense Minister Barak says that settlement construction cannot fully stop. So you're saying, oh yeah, that's what you've been praying for. Why is this a bad thing? Let me tell you what he said afterwards. But the Palestinians shouldn't care. They'll get any house built on lands they get in talks. Meaning, he said, what's the difference if we build houses? They're going to go to you anyway, so why are you complaining? This is coming from the person that's in charge of the defense in the areas building these homes. I don't know if you guys have ever built a home out there, but when you've moved into a home and you've lived there for X amount of years, it sort of feels like, home? Just being uprooted, having your defense minister say, it's no big deal. These Jews will move in, we'll just throw them right out, they'll go right to you. Oh dear Palestinians. This is just sickening. This is just another disgusting, secular, leftist, Israeli, embarrassing our people, desecrating Torah, being an absolute disgrace to God. I want to know what you have to say about this. that our crass defense minister has so little tact. Forget about Torah for a second. Has so little tact and empathy for the Jews that he's done nothing but try and ruin their lives the last, 20-something years that he's been in politics. Let me know what you have to say about this, because this makes me want to puke. This absolutely makes me want to throw up. I think this is just revolting. So on Friday's show, I talked about that a Knesset member actually went to America specifically to, kiss Obama's tush and to, slander our Prime Minister. So I'm only going to read one quote because I don't have that much time. Nobody should have to suck up to America for support. I agree wholeheartedly. America should give Israel support without ever having to ask for anything or suck up to get it. How dare anyone slander your Prime Minister? Much less someone that's actually in the Knesset. I thought that was a great quote. Our poll question today is, what do you think of our crass Prime Minister being so obnoxious, so arrogant, that just, a Jew being in his home and being evicted from his home by his own people means so little to him that he would make this comment. I don't know what you have to say about this. Moving right along to other things that make me want to barf. Jonathan Pollard has been rotting in jail in America for 25 years. And yes, I'm the first one that always likes to blame America, but most of the blame on this goes with the Israeli government. If the Israeli government cared, he would have been out after about a year or two. He's been rotting in there for 25 years. Not a single Israeli prime minister has ever gone out on a limb to get him. No American president has ever freed him. His father was on his deathbed. Jonathan Pollard begged, literally begged, to be able to go visit his father one last time. Not to get out of jail permanently, just to visit his dying father. Well, his father passed away. And now he's begging just to be able to go to the funeral. And Obama, if Obama let him actually get out to do this, the ignorant Jews in America would say, see, I told you, that he's pro-Israel. He's so stupid, Obama. He won't even do this for no other reason, just to, curry favor with the Jewish people. I find this absolutely disgusting. I'm also blaming the Israeli government for a very large chunk of this. Jonathan Pollard, he just wants to go to his father's funeral and go right back to jail. And he's not being allowed to do that, and I find that absolutely disgusting. Alright, so in hilarious news, a Muslim mufti, it's like their pathetic, disgusting, garbage version of a rabbi, was quoted this week as saying that, quote-unquote, Palestinians are no longer welcome in his country. He also condemned Palestinians as trash. He called them trash. And I don't know if you know anything about the Middle East, but every other Muslim country also calls them trash. Palestinians have less rights in every Muslim country than they do in Israel. Israel treats them like kings in this country. All this apartheid nonsense. If you ever went to Lebanon or Syria or Jordan, you'd see, the level of rights that the quote-unquote Palestinians have. You'd see how they're completely discriminated against by the Muslims that, claim they're their best friends. They live in refugee camps in horrible conditions. Only in Israel do the people that do nothing but kill us, try and take down our country. Only in Israel do they have rights. Do we help them economically? Do we give them benefits? This is just, I like to point out hypocrisy on the show. That's really the goal of my show, is to point out hypocrisy, mixed with a little bit of humor and sarcasm. So I want to thank everybody out there that's been sharing this show. But this is coming from a fellow Muslim calling them trash. But that's like I disagree with the comment. I agree 100%. But just to hear it from a Muslim, it doesn't really go reported in any other newspaper other than an Israeli one. But this is what people feel about the quote-unquote Palestinians, because they're leeches. They don't work, they don't do anything, they siphon off the world, and the world is suckers for supporting these trash, like the Mufti likes to call them. Alright, so we have a foreign minister in Israel called Avigdor Lieberman. Avigdor Lieberman has no mute button, he has no, off switch. He just says whatever comes to his head. And I love that, because almost everything that he says, except when it has to do with Torah, is completely dead on. So we all know that the quote-unquote Palestinians are trying to declare their own state in land that I live in, which is absurd. He says that a move like that will be a violation of all the agreements that were signed until today. Israel will no longer be committed to the agreement signed with the quote-unquote Palestinians over the past 18 years. The day after we signed the Oslo Accords, the Palestinians broke it. And we should have just said, okay, we're going to rip up this thing now, no more agreement, but we haven't. And for 18 years, the Oslo Accords have been completely desecrated by the Palestinian, quote unquote, and the Jews have held to it, steadfastly. So he's sort of starting this push to, if they declare a state, all bets are off. Anything that we've ever agreed to, anything we've been nice enough to give you, all bets are off. And I'm hoping that the majority of Israelis, start getting behind this. All right, so in honor of my great aunt, my beloved great aunt, Aunt Florence, who was as no nonsense as you can get. She was so disgusted with some of the things that are happening in modern times. She was just a kickback to the old days. Everything just made sense. She spoke her mind. None of this, sucking up to people. She was just awesome. She came from an era that actually, had morality, had everything. So here's our new segment called "The World is Going Down the Toilet." Listen to this. A judge has harsh words for a mom before sentencing her for, get this, spanking her kid. Rosalina Gonzalez had pleaded guilty to a felony charge of injury to a child for what prosecutors had described as pretty simple, straightforward spanking case. She didn't use belts, she didn't leave bruises, she just left the red mark on the tushy that happens when you're spanking. So I know the tushies all over the world are rejoicing right now at this verdict, but this is disgusting. Because disciplining your child is something that not only are we supposed to do, but we're commanded to do it. And a parent has every right to hit their child. Not supposed to slug them in the face with a 6-iron, but if a child's getting out of line, a parent has every right and should, and teachers used to be able to do this, spank their child. Why? Because it instills fear in the child. So that maybe next time they decide to, run across the street, they think, wait a minute, I don't really want to get spanked again. So this is my flushing down the toilet segment, because how could a judge get in the way of a mother disciplining her own child? That's what this liberal, disgusting, pathetic world has done. So I don't want to leave everybody on a sour note, because just like the Jewish people that have endured so much in this world, we always rise up at the end. So now we're going to lead into my happy time segment. I told you about a basketball player, a Jewish female basketball player who's observant and will not wear a uniform that gets cut off at the sleeves. So there was a big debate, and this international basketball tournament wasn't going to let her play because she wasn't wearing the same uniform as the other members of the team. So they've now come to an agreement. She will be able to play because they're making her wear like a skin look-alike undershirt. Meaning when you look at her, it will look like her skin is uncovered, but in actuality, it will be like an undershirt that covers her skin, which I think is great. She's a role model to the Jewish people because she was not going to play in this tournament if she had to dress immodestly. So I'd like to thank her. Her name is Naama Shafir. She's a great basketball player. And in more good news, there's a lawsuit being filed by Dr. Alan Bauer in America. He's an American-Israeli victim of a quote-unquote Palestinian terrorist attack. He filed a first-of-its-kind lawsuit to confiscate the 14 ships that are planning on coming here in the next flotilla. He wants to confiscate these ships. I find this awesome, which is why it's part of my Happy Time segment. This is just absolutely amazing. In sad news, there's a large fire going on right now in the Golan Heights. Most likely from arson, most likely from Muslims. We charge them with like a little slap on the wrist or a tushy spanking instead of charging them with murder, because in the last arson case, 40-something people died in the Carmel fire. It's time we get tough with our enemies in this country and stop, treating them with kid gloves, because none of the other Muslim countries do that. And I just want to end with the most blatant hypocrisy. Haaretz, which is the most disgusting newspaper in the world, has said that Israel needs to keep religion out of the army, yet every day they whine and complain that Orthodox Haredi Jews don't serve in the army. Do you see the hypocrisy in this, people? Do you see it? Everybody seeing this, please? All right, that's our show. We have to go. It's not news unless it's Jews news. Everybody have a great day.